Longines HydroConquest has had three stages in its relatively short lifespan. The first generation, which didn't look too good because of a major problem that I'm gonna get into, and the second generation, which is near perfect, and that is the watch that we'll be looking at today. And then there's the third generation, the new generation, which isn't exactly a successor of the HydroConquest dive watch because it's a GMT watch, but to me it suffers from a similar issue that the first generation HydroConquest suffers from, which concerns me. Let's talk about it. And hey, before I continue, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before end of the year. Thanks. Longines is one of the best watch brands in the world, period. There's no argument about this. It was founded in 1832, almost 2 centuries ago. And it has single-handedly elevated the watch industry, the modern watch industry as we know it today. Now, the HydroConquest, the dive watch, not the GMT. This is one of the best dive watches, in my opinion, in its price range. And I understand that some people have very strong opinions about this design. They don't like the large numerals, they don't like the large crown guards, the big crown. I get that. And then I started to look at how the owners felt about these attributes, these design characteristics. This is not a technical flaw in the watch and its performance and its variability. This is a very subjective visual design attribute. The biggest complaint about the watch was the clasp. The new GMT version kind of improves on that. The HydroConquest, unlike the Conquest, is a much more modern design with no past heritage attached to it. A lot of the popular Longines watches have a very strong design identity because they are evolved from a long line of watches from early 30s and 50s. But the HydroConquest is very, very new. It came out in 2007, and then we saw the first major change in 2017. So one fact about the HydroConquest is that it's in its infancy. It doesn't have a long line of heritage to follow. It's a constantly evolving design, and I believe that that's a big challenge for this watch. And not just this watch, that would be a challenge for any watch. It's always easier to continue a good story than to create a good story from scratch. Now, one of the biggest issues that I had with the first generation of the HydroConquest was it just felt messy. The bezel didn't look too good. The whole thing just didn't work. And then the second generation came out in 2017 and everything became better. Everything improved. The overall design became much more refined. So this is the second generation of the HydroConquest with a gorgeous, elegant sunray blue dial. Stainless steel case, 41mm case size, although you have many different sizes, a slim height of 11.7mm, 21 lug width, and a lug to lug of 51mm. You get 300 meters of water resistance, so this is a proper dive watch, and an ETA automatic caliber that's exclusive for Longines. You get 72 hours of power reserve, a beat frequency of 3.5 Hz, and a price tag of around $1,700. Design-wise, the dial is cleaner. You have strong nodes, these points of reference that create the recognizable design identity. You know, when you go to an open courtyard and you have a fountain in the center, that fountain becomes a node. It's an identifiable point of reference. If you didn't have that fountain in the center of that huge courtyard, you wouldn't be able to find anyone there. And every good design has a point of reference. It has a strong design identity that makes it instantly recognizable. So that's my point. Whether you like it or not is a different subject. But the HydroConquest, this generation of HydroConquest has that. Which brings me to the next point. The biggest problem with Longines is that they are creating excellent watches on their own, but they may not be creating an excellent design identity if they keep deviating too much from their previous design. And this even applies to Rolex, Omega, Cartier, modern Tudors. In the cases of these brands, the evolution of design is almost never about the visual aesthetics, which can be heavily subjective. The focus is almost always about technical improvements. But in the case of the new HydroConquest GMT, which is fine as a watch on its own, but it's not a perfect watch. I don't like the busyness of the dial. The crown guards, they seem less dynamic, more bulky, much more abrupt. But they did improve the clasp and the bracelet, so that's a huge improvement. But I'm really hoping that this new GMT doesn't transfer its dial to the next HydroConquest dive watch. I still want to see those large numerals. I still want to see those gradual crown guards. That's the biggest problem with the GMT. I don't feel like it has a strong identity. There's no strong node, a strong design identity, a strong point of reference that makes it instantly recognizable. Again, these are not technical issues. This is purely subjective. It's still a good watch. I just don't want to see the next HydroConquest change too many things too quickly. But these are just my thoughts, my opinions. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.